G'day and welcome. Alright, so the final of the series. The event you've all been waiting for. Again, I get this. This one's a big. This is a 1/4. All these airplanes are 1/4/8 scale. I'll put that. Better put that in the title. So anyway, we've got our Arvo arrow here. I'll make sure. Now I'll read the description for you, just so you know what we got here. Canada made its own contribution to the world of aviation in the form of the CF-105 Arvo arrow, of course. A two-seat twin-jet high-altitude long-range interceptor that had an approximate thrust weight of 60,000 pounds and was equipped with the Arenda Iroquois engines with afterburners. During test flights, the Arrow was equipped with the J75 engines, while the Arenda Iroquois was further developed on the B-47 testbed. The Arrow exceeded maximum speeds of Mach 2 and had tremendous climb capacities at all weights. With its thrust-weight ratio of 1:1, it surely was passed by the VTOL. Able to intercept and destroy planes at 75,000 feet, the Arrow has a sharp delta wingspan with trailing edges to reduce drag at high speeds. Guided missiles were its intended ornaments. Very cool. Let's have a look at that. Ain't that beautiful? Now let's look at our kit here. Pretty darn big. These Hobbycraft Canada kits, again, they were never super highly detailed. Like pilots are, you can kind of make out that those are pilots and they're upside down, but that type of thing. But that's the parts you're looking at. This is going to be a pretty easy kit to put together, to be honest with you, because there's not a lot of detail to these airplanes. Check out the wing. That's huge. That's massive. A model airplane that I would love to build, just to put beside this, would be a B-70 Valkyrie, just because a 1/4/8 scale thing would take up half your living room. It was so big. Yeah, so that's the wing, or a wing. And the original, the Arrow had a 1,260 foot wing area, massive. Even by today's standards, it was massive. This airplane was massive. It was 85 feet long. I did sit in the nose of the Arvo Arrow when I was a kid, or a teenager, I guess you'd say, young adult, when I worked at the Aviation Museum. And it was a very Buck Rogers airplane. It was very cool to have that experience. Probably one of the last men to ever sit in that cockpit. There's the other wing. They'll go together. Then these are the bottom parts of the wings here. This is not... Oh, sorry, that's the tail. Sorry, that's your vertical stabilizer. And we got some Sparrow missiles in there. We've got 8 of them. I'm not going to put the missiles on because they were carried internally. But it does come with a drop tank. I might put the drop tank on. I don't know if I'm going to put the drop tank on. That would be cool. There's our nose. So that's going to be interesting painting this thing up. Let's have a look at, we've got RL201. Don't damage the decals. There's a fair amount of detail on that. You got, fuel, danger, canopy opening, other side, that type of thing. 1/48 scale. Got some of that stuff there. Got the Ontario flag on there. Danger. Ejection seat. I actually did sit in the ejection seat as well. When I sat in the nose of the Arvo Arrow, it didn't have anything. The stick was left in the cockpit, but everything else was stripped out of it. They've now since kind of semi-restored it, and I think they've lowered it down because the nose wheel was still on it. But I think they lowered it down so that it's sitting so that you can see inside it now. But I think they cracked one of the windscreens when they moved it. So, again, you've got to be careful with this museum stuff, right? But let's have a look here. So there's the cockpit assembly. There's your pilots. Ready for action. Okay. Nose gear assembly. Our pilots are ready for warp speed. Time to the far side of the galaxy. Got some landing gears. Part number 7. And basically 9 stages to finish up this. I'm not going to put the missiles on there. It's an internal bomb bay aircraft. I think that was just for for some kids that would want to see it kind of more exciting or whatever. But yeah, unless I make modify the bomb base to open up and then have them in there, that would be cool. But I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to keep this model pretty simple. I say that now, but I could get into like extreme detail. And of course, here's the decal patterns, the painting patterns where everything goes. Danger intakes do not get sucked through the engines. Colors: black nose parts, visor intake frame. Light gray landing parts, silver tires or tire burners. Yeah, so what I might do is because 201, I don't think 201 got the Arctic orange on there, but let's say I do it up in 203 or 204 or 205 or 206. I could always make my own decals if I wanted, but I don't know. I'll see. Yeah, so you get the option here. Okay. Oh, you can only go up to 206 on it. You can go up to 205. So you can cut off the 1, and you can put 205, 204. So if you want to do that orange on there, yeah, I think it's... But then again, the all-white looks good too, right? The original. And, yeah, so you have 25, 201, yeah, they don't have 206 on there. Why don't they have 206 on there? The legendary 206. A little bit of a controversy, conspiracy for you, just before I wrap up. When I was working at the museum, again, when they chopped up the airplanes, they chopped up this one just around here, and it says, or just around here, and it says RL 204. But I was sure, or 206 at the museum. But I believe when I'm almost 100% that it said 204, but then again, maybe it didn't, right? So, if you have any pictures of the Ottawa National Aviation Museum, Ottawa, Avro Aero, no, it's the only surviving cockpit of the Avro Aeros there. If you have that, a picture's pre 1991. Because I can't remember if I worked there in 91, well, it was probably 92, 93, or 94 that I worked there as a volunteer and stuff like that. I was there for about 6 months, but I swear it said 204 on the side, but it didn't have the orange on it, so you never know. Maybe they redid it, because after the movie, did one really get away? The conspiracy. Ooh, the conspiracy. But anyway, yeah, these are the models. I don't know when I'm going to start them. I'll probably try to document it as much, because I know there seems to be an interest of people doing scale models out there, and when you're doing your scale models, it's nice to share with people how you do it, because you might do it a different way than somebody else. I do have a small airbrush. The nice thing about the Arrow is you really only have 2 colors to contend with, maybe 3 if you get a little bit fancy, but 3 or 4 max colors, but I might have the spray paint to finish it. And I like but white I always find is one of the hardest colors to airbrush. It seems like white paint always runs. I have no idea why. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at about that. So that's the kit. I do not know when I'm going to start these kits, but it is the winter time now, so you're kind of trapped in all day when it's like that, so I'll probably, looks like my battery chargers. I thought I saw a green light there. I'll have to keep an eye on that. Charging up the battery for the tractor for my dad. But anyway, the case in point is whenever I do it, I'll share it with you, and it should be pretty interesting and pretty fun, and we'll go from there. All right, so I have a ton of other videos on my other channel about the Avro Aero and stuff like that, so I won't get into too much detail on it. It is a controversial airplane, and it's not a controversial because people don't like it. It's controversial to the people who don't worship it. Like if you have Avro Aero fever, it's kind of it is an iconic airplane, and yes, I am a fanboy. I know there was faults with the airplane, sure, but I usually always argue in its defense because I think there was a lot of potential there that never got fully realized. But remember, the airplane met all the RCAF requirements in only 78 hours of flight testing. That's 68 or 78 hours of flight testing, something like that. What could it have done if the Aero would have been complete? And again, what we paid for these CF-101 Voodoos, we would have not only finished the Aero program, but probably would have been on the Mark III variant, which would have been a Mach 3 variant. Ooh, that would have been so fun. I would definitely would have wanted flying that. That would have been, zip around. And just a little thing to note on the F-35, which, so the F-35 is modern technology. I'm not comparing in that sense. But just to give you a performance aspects, the F-35 with roughly about the same range as the CF-18 or an F-18 or F-16, they all seem to be 600-mile range airplanes, give or take. Maybe you get 700 miles if you're really gentle with the throttle or whatever. Flying from Vancouver to Toronto, the Aero could do it pretty much in one flight. The F-35 would have to refuel 3 times, so it means you'd have to fly a tanker, basically following the F-35. And the Aero could do it at a much faster pace, where the cruise speed of this thing was 603 miles an hour back in its day. That was the cruise speed. Top speed that they recorded was Mach 1.7 or Mach 1.9. But they wanted Mach 1.5 just to catch all the Russian Soviet bombers of the time. It was never fully opened up, and it was never fully opened up with the Iroquois engines. So I'm sure the model testing that they did, because we didn't have the wind tunnels to get the speed high enough. Even the Americans didn't have a wind tunnel fast enough to see what the full potential was. The Aero 201's airframe capabilities, give or take the material angles of it, was capable of Mach 2.5 plus. So it gives you an idea that it was just a matter of putting enough power behind it to be able to do that. And it did have about a 2,000-mile range, roughly, with a drop tank. Internal range in patrol mode, I think, was something like 12 or 1,400 nautical miles. So it was pretty good. It would have been a very good. In intercept mode, climbing with a full combat weight at 5 miles a minute. Yes, the F-4 Phantom could climb 8 miles a minute, but it probably not at full combat weight. I think it was probably... So this thing was pretty much a Canadian version of an F-4 Phantom in some ways, with better efficiency in other ways. So it would have been a really interesting airplane if it would have been able to see its full potentials. But anyway, I talk about all the innovation stuff that it has. There were other planes that might have been faster, but nowhere near as high. There was nowhere near as high. There were other planes that were higher, but nowhere near the payload or the speed. There were other planes that had longer range, but not with the same payload. Like this thing was able to carry, in its day, it was designed for 4,000 pounds in the two 16-foot bomb bays, which, that's what it was designed for. So who knows what it would have actually carried? Maybe it carried 12,000 pounds. Who knows? That type of thing. So again, its full potential was never basically realized. It could be remotely flown from the rear cockpit, which where the navigator and radar operator basically sat. It was a really cool airplane. The very first flight, it actually landed so smoothly it didn't even set off the sensor pads in the to record when the wheels came down. It landed that smoothly. The only malfunction on the very first flight was one little switch didn't light up in the dashboard. That was it. The only recorded there was a landing gear mishap on, I think, 201 or 202. I think it was 202 on one of the landings. There might have been 2 Aero crashes, I think, but they were basically landing gear failures type of thing. But they revamped the designs, and of course they would work on that. But the only other one was the Aero was flying, and it just did this crazy pitched up I don't remember if it was 201 or 203 or which one it was, but it pitched up in flight and it never did it again. It was just kind of a glitch. Now you have to understand this airplane was flown by servos. Yes, it would obviously be hydraulically assisted, but it was different in the sense that it was basically one of the first fly-by-wire airplanes in the world. Not the first, but one of the first. And it was definitely the first one that would have basically entered service had we, pretty much went into service. The other interesting thing is there were no aero prototypes. It went from design board technically to, full production. But the thing is from 201 to 206, I think they had right up to 211 was started. 210 wasn't finished. 209 wasn't finished. 208 wasn't fully finished, and 207 was about to be finished. Those airplanes never flew. They were just, still on the assembly line. But 206 was finished. But the idea that what they did is they just refined, readjusted the jigs. So technically, the first six, those first airplanes were prototypes. We'll just make this one just a little bit. Okay, well, in the last one it was a little bit lacking here. So technically they were prototypes, but technically they weren't. It was full design, full production, steam ahead. So it was kind of an interesting airplane and a lot of little tidbits like that. So that's why there's such a fan club around them. But I will build this model. I don't know when I'll build this model, but when I do, you guys will see it. There we go. Have yourselves a great day, eh?